2018 was a difficult year for South Africans, and if the experts are to be believed, this year's top of form is also gearing up to be a relentless economic storm. South African consumers are facing a tough year ahead as a number of key living costs are set to increase, not least of all Eskom's application for a 15% increase in electricity. Fuel, food and other goods are getting more expensive, and this comes on top of a stagnant economy and the continuing job losses. We take a look at what 2019 holds for us on the economic front, and joining us now on the line, we have Dr Adrian Saville, a founder of Cannon Asset Managers. Dr. Saville, thank you so much for your time. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on the show.
We know last year was a tough year economically. What are we looking at this year? Is it going to be more of the same, a little better, or perhaps even worse?
For South Africa, I think the first part of the year is going to be captured by lots of electioneering and politicians positioning themselves full of promise. Of course, those promises will be exactly that. They are unlikely to translate into an economic or business reality in the first half of the year. So I think the South African economy comes into 2019 in better shape than it went into 2018. If you take your mind back 12 months, Cyril Ramaphosa had only just been elected to head the ANC, and the sense was we were on the cusp of a new dawn. The year didn't quite pan out with the strong economic growth that we had expected. So, if anything, I think 2019 might be the new dawn. The economy is in better shape. The electioneering will pass through the system by the middle of the year. The world economy will be reasonably supportive of the South African economy, not quite as helpful as it could be. But any economic commentary always has qualifications. I think the two big qualifications are the issue around Eskom and the extent to which Cyril Ramaphosa gets an ANC on his side. I think those are the two big question marks over 2019 for South Africa.
I suppose the decrease in the petrol price is a big help and a good foot on which to start the year.
Yeah, I would agree. Petrol is an important input into not just your and my lives as households and consumers, but arguably even more importantly into business and industry more generally. So you get what you call a cost push relief or a cost pull, and that costs are pulled down by the lower petrol price, the lower oil price, and that's a combination of the lower global oil price and the dynamics in Saudi Arabia are, I think, well documented now, but also the stronger rand will mean lower fuel prices, and that hasn't quite passed into the system yet. So I think that's a plus that is on its way.
Mm-hmm. There's this big concern around Eskom and the electricity tariffs. How significant a factor is that?
Maybe I could put the question back to you. Do you believe a 15% increase in electricity prices will fix Eskom?
No.
And I suppose Eskom has at least two real problems. The first, maybe three, if I can change my mind in mid-thought.
Yeah.
But the first problem is financial. Its balance sheet is, in a word, broken. The second is operational. 10 years on from when the electricity crisis first struck, Eskom has a headcount that's moved up from 30-odd thousand employees to 40-odd thousand employees, but their electricity output is exactly the same. They've benefited from substantial price increases, and the balance sheet is in worse condition than it was before. So you've got operational problems on top of the financial problems. And I think the third issue is arguably Eskom is using the wrong technology, or certainly redundant technology, in that it's a heavy coal-based smokestack. And the alternative technologies, whether you're talking about renewable or solar, wind, or if you go further down the spectrum to nuclear. Those alternative technologies are very hard to compete against.
Yeah.
15% price increase, I don't think fixes Eskom, it just hurts us.
Finally, Adrian, the ANC is the ruling party and it launched its manifesto over the weekend. From a financial perspective, is there a glimmer of hope in terms of what they're thinking and how they're thinking?
It's beautifully written. It's full of promises. Not to be too cynical, but the ANC has been robust in their macroeconomic policy over the full sweep of time. They have put in place very sensible fiscal and monetary policies compared to what we've seen in many other comparable emerging markets. But it's an election manifesto. It's an election promise, and my wish for the election result is that we get a clear and strong majority, and that it's an economic friendly policy. I don't mean a market friendly. I mean an economic friendly policy. And if you have a strong social and economic policy that translates into a healthier and happier country, you're going to get good business results.